with Catholic Charities of Ashtabula County. She has over 18 years of experience serving the needs of Ashtabula County.
Yesterday was my anniversary.
Ooh. 18 years. Oh, congratulations. And she leads the agency's mission with 21 employees, and her team serves the most poor and vulnerable in Ashtabula County through basic needs assistance, protective services, and educational programs. She holds a master's degree in science and social administration from the Mandel School of Applied Social Sciences at Case Western Reserve University, a certificate from the University of Notre Dame and nonprofit executive program for Catholic leadership. She's a 2007 graduate of Leadership Ashtabula County. And she also serves on various local boards and committees in the community. I love that this was in your bio, by the way. She believes that every individual should be treated with dignity and respect and have the right to self-determination in one's journey in life. She will be talking about a topic today that, it was recently even on the front page of the newspaper, and it's something that has come up in various meetings throughout our community, and that she really works to help enlighten people, inform, and she's constantly working to make our community a better and brighter place for everyone. So thank you, Jill, for being here today.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. I hope to provide some insight for you today. I have a presentation hopefully I can get done in a timely manner, but first I'm going to do a little plug on Catholic Charities of Ashtabula County. We're located at the downtown Ashtabula City at the First Commonwealth Bank, and we've been there for many years. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And just some of the things about us, we've been established in Ashtabula County since 1944. We serve all of Ashtabula County, and we're known as the charity arm of the Catholic Church. And on top of it, Catholic in Latin means universal, so that means all are welcome. Always put that out there because you don't have to be Catholic to receive services at Catholic Charities. So that's just to kind of give you an idea about who we are really quick. So a presentation perspective for today. It's a big topic, so I want to kind of put this out front for all of us. Homelessness is a nationwide challenge. It's really in the forefront of today's media, and we all know that. The other thing is today's presentation is going to be very person-centered, not group, like they. It's a person. And to also be mindful to who is in the room. It's a triggering topic. It can affect somebody in this room. So we may have people in the room with lived experiences, or they know of someone who has a lived experience. And homelessness does not define or describe a person or who they are as a person. It is a situation. And lastly, homelessness is a symptom, a result of a greater challenge, a personal challenge of a person or household that is unhoused. So what my hopes are for all of you today is that you will feel informed, feel hopeful, and feel empowered. So here, I think everyone in this room can relate in some way. Homelessness is a tough topic and affects many people every day in our community. Our citizens, our local governments and municipalities, our law enforcement, our first responders, hospitals, social service agencies, food and soup kitchens, our schools, teachers, coaches, recovery programs, retail stores, gas stations, our churches, our clergy, not to mention our parents, our grandparents, family and friends, and not to forget those that are unhoused, those that they present as homeless or at risk of being homeless. Can everyone relate in this room? That's what I thought. So homelessness, I heard so many different perspectives on it, and here are the things that people usually say to me, and I'm sure you've thought of or been there, or if you heard others talk. So homelessness is viewed as a public issue, and it could be viewed as a moral and ethical issue in our community. It could be very complex, complicated, a safety issue, a man-made issue, not an overnight solution issue. It's not a one-size-fits-all issue. It could be seems uncontrolled, disturbing, unimaginable, sad and hard to imagine, and some people might say it's a preventable issue, but a lot of times it's an invisible issue. It's very easy to see people in the community and to assume what a person may be, and assume that someone is homeless by the way they look, based off stigma. And then there's some that are not, or some that are and you would never know and they were sitting right next to you. That's reality. I don't have any mom jokes right now for you, but this should be coming up any second, right? Where's my It's thinking. It's okay. Because we're looking through a different lens. We're going to think differently. There we go. Thanks, Andrew. Okay. So we're going to go into the class portion of this presentation and kind of get into definitions of homelessness. So it's easy to say that homelessness is very universal, but it's not. We all kind of have an idea of what we think it is. So I just, for those that don't know in the room, there's an actual definition by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. They define homelessness as being literally homeless, and that's someone that, or an individual or family that lacks a fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence. So that might be someone living in a place not meant for habitation, which is how we usually say it, but the general public would say living in your car, park, bus, kind of floating around, living on a park bench, or could be an abandoned house. There's also those that are living in a shelter. That's to help those that are unhoused. So people who are in these situations where they're exiting, let's say, an institution and they were homeless before they entered, that's another kind of extreme way of looking at homelessness, but basically it's someone who does not have the means to have their own place, and they don't have other friends or family or trusting family or friends take them in to their home and to provide that roof over their head. And the other topic is also fleeing domestic violence. Those that have to exit their location immediately, they may find themselves homeless in a very precarious way because they have to protect themselves and their family. So it's a very common situation, and that is another form of defining homelessness. Then there's the other part that I think everyone knows about, and it's those that are couch surfing. And a lot of times people think couch surfing is considered homeless, but believe it or not, it's not by the definition of HUD. It's considered you're at risk. So we may find that it is a precursor to homelessness. Someone might find themselves homeless and then they have a place to stay and then they don't have a place to stay. But if they are staying somewhere and someone is letting them stay, they're at risk of homelessness. They're not considered homeless. It's a very common situation. Many people stay with family and friends. It could be long-term, it could be short-term, it could be for 1 minute. But it's very difficult to estimate who, how many people in our community that are in this scenario, but I would say in Ashtabula County, it could be very high, it could be very low. It depends on people's supports and their ability to make connections with people. Now let's see if I can get this video to work. Probably not.
So just click on the thing that says YouTube at the bottom right.
Okay, there we go. We're going to ignore that. 2, 3. That's just a little example of what couch surfing is. I think, how many people might be able to relate to that scenario on that video? Can you say how you found out to the room? How you felt when you found out that that was the scenario? Invisible, right? Yep. So in a recent report, and just so you know, COVID kind of held back our reports regarding homeless numbers, but really the best numbers I can get is from January of 2020, based off a homeless count, which I'll get into in a little bit. But there are 580,000 people roughly reported as homeless at one point in January of 2020. And of those people, 70% were either single male or single female, and 30% were families with children. Now that percentage actually shares a little bit about the population, but it could be someone who's unhoused or someone who's in a shelter. So those numbers reflect both. Just a little information on where we're going. So, but why? You know, why do we have almost, I'll just say, 600,000 people at a given point in our country homeless? Well, there's lots of different reasons why. So imagine if we had one universal reason. We would probably be able to maybe figure it out real quick, right? But it's not the case. And remember earlier I mentioned about being person-centered. Homelessness, those that are unhoused, those that are in a precarious situation, it's their situation. We need to look at what happened, why. And just to kind of go over some of the things, housing is really key. Lack of safe, affordable, and available housing is something that happens throughout this country where it's a challenge. You know, when you don't have the options of housing or you're facing eviction, your choices can be very limited depending on your situation, whether you have supportive family or friends, but ultimately it can create instability and, unfortunately, homelessness. Then you also have income. If you don't have enough income, if you don't have a livable wage, it could be very challenging to maintain your own household. And in Ashtabula County, the median income for a family of 4 is roughly between $45,000 to $50,000. The new numbers are going to be coming out soon, a year. So that doesn't count all the things that you have to do to maintain your house. And we're just talking about your rent, keeping that afloat. You have one hardship, it could affect your household. So that's another factor. Then another big area is health. You know, I use the category of health because this could be very layered discussion, but someone's mental health and or those that have substance use disorders, I mean, health problems can cause a person in a homeless situation or at risk, and can put them in a quandary of sorts, no doubt. But it's one of the factors that I think sometimes seems visible in our community. Domestic violence, many survivors are always fleeing. They're trying to find places to live, and sometimes it's not easy, especially when you're trying to be away from a particular person or situation. Then we have also racial disparities and discrimination. So that's out there. You know, when you're in a situation where you feel that you're all by yourself and you don't have any supports, it could cause homelessness. And then, you know, there's other things, you know, legal issues, coming from jail, prison, aging out of the foster system, not wanting to leave your pet. I'm going to live in my car with my dog. No one's going to tell me to bring it to the APL. My pet's my life. And lack of supportive family or friends. These are just some brief points on why. The why also comes together with obstacles and barriers that may lead or cause to homelessness. Who's seen this picture before? Okay, we got some, all right. So this metaphor is, you know, someone comes to Catholic Charities, Community Action, Samaritan House, and we see the tip of the iceberg. What we see is not what's beneath it. We're just starting to peel. We're just starting to peel to find out what's going on with a person that's in a real precarious state. So when we work with people and we think about why are they in the position of being homeless, we're seeing just the tip of the iceberg. So what we see on the surface doesn't always speak to what is beneath the tip of the iceberg, just the beginning. So those daily barriers that can lead to homelessness are countless. You know, when we meet with people at our agencies working with someone who is just in a really hard time, crisis, hardship, you know, and you ask the question, so what happened? It could be tons of these things. It's not one thing. It's not an isolated issue. Lack of livable wage, reunification with my children. I have a mandated program. I have no gas money, I can't get to work. I have a payday loan and it's taken out of my security check, Social Security check, not my check. But, you know, child support, undocumented eviction. Can you imagine trying to put that in a priority list? I don't know. They're all priorities. then the implication of those barriers, you know, we're human. We're human. I mean, we have our own life, our own feelings. And, you know, a person in a situation where they're trying to strengthen their position in life, they might be feeling the shame. They might be they have feelings. They might feel marginalized, judged. There's trauma involved. They may feel lost, depressed, scared, and ultimately very vulnerable. And they could be very vulnerable to people that aren't maybe in their best interest. So again, this is about the person. Ultimately, sometimes they feel misunderstood, and as a person feels misunderstood because there's so much going on. So this is for your CEU portion of today's presentation, but has anybody heard of the theoretical model? So the reason why I'm bringing it up, it's about the stages of change. Life comes with many different varieties, but how we make decisions is based off where we're at in our life. So imagine you're unhoused. Imagine you're walking into Catholic Charities and you're meeting somebody for the first time, and you're trying to figure out what to do, and you're living in your car, and you meet with a caseworker, and that person says, hey, what's going on? Let's get to know you. And then questions start happening, and you start sharing what's going on, and then all of a sudden, the person starts providing you tools to help you move forward. Not telling you, but tools to move forward. The question would be for that person is are they ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to go to Samaritan? Samaritan House has an opening if you'd like to go. I don't know if I want to go to a shelter. Do you have family that might be interested in knowing where you're at? I don't know if I want to talk to my family today. Imagine walking out the door going, I have all these tools, but I just don't know when to use them. I bring that example up because we get the question of why is someone still in the same situation over and over and over? Or why, if we have all of these resources in our community, why? Well, it could be because they're in contemplation mode, and that's just a little bit more on a theoretical level. And it's just acknowledging that there's a problem, but they're not ready yet to make moves. Maybe it's the lack of confidence to make change. But imagine when you're ready to make that change, that's called preparation. And then you have the determination to get ready for that change. And that's using the resources that are there for you. That's utilizing the people that are supporting you. And trusting. I mean, it takes trust to do all this stuff. It takes a person that says, you're listening to me. I'm so glad you heard me. You're not ignoring what I just said. So just the change of action and making sure that they're able to maintain. So, you know, this can be ongoing with people we meet with every day. So it's, again, a person-centered approach to how we help people move forward in our community. Okay, I got another video. I planned that. There we go. All right. Perfect. All right. That's my mom joke, okay? collaboration. I have a mic, sorry. Collaboration. It's so huge. If you don't know it now, look around the room, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's someone you're collaborating with in this room. And if you're not collaborating with someone, you will eventually. And if you are collaborating, I bet you you're helping on behalf of someone in need. So thank you. So Ashtabula County has a housing council, and it's been serving Ashtabula County since 2004. And here is our council. All of us have a role in, as a partner, serving the homeless or those that are unhoused in Ashtabula County. And you can see there's probably many of us in the room right here. So our role is to meet as a council six times a year. We conduct the annual point in time count. We facilitate the coordinated entry system, which I'll explain in a little bit. It is mandated, by the way. Provide services to those in need in housing, basic needs, and with a person-centered approach. We serve as also the Access Point organization. We organize the Access Point for Homeless in Ashtabula County, and we also help those that are at risk of homelessness. We provide also homeless assistance through the Homeless Crisis Response Program, which is a grant that really helps people on a long-term, in some cases short-term level, from their homeless or at-risk situation. And we provide a lot of referrals to all the services in our community and also supports. We coordinate a prioritization of people who are at risk, or I would say mostly homeless, that are in our community as a team. And we discuss the gaps in services in our community along with funding opportunities that are going to help Ashtabula County. This goes on all the time. So I get the question all the time, where did the homeless go, Jill? All the time. Well, where did they go? I didn't see them. They're not in the park. Where are they? It's not the homeless. It's a person. I usually explain that a lot of times people are going to local shelters, or if they're homeless, they may be in their car, they're maybe under a bridge, they may be at the soup kitchens. I bring that up because it could be anything. And I'm just showing you a little bit of a picture. This is a couple years ago. A couple of us from the Continuum went down to the Gulf, and we found that there was a small encampment, but it turns out that encampment ended up leaving. But it was very short term, but it is real. I mean, it happens. When people say there's people in the Gulf, yeah, there might be people in the Gulf. I don't know about 200, but because I've heard really high numbers, but people flee to where they feel safe. They flee to where they're around people that are going to help them in their situation. So it could be at a gas station. It could be at Walmart. It could be at the library, where they feel support, where they feel loved, where they feel they can make connections too. So the question is well, how do I refer someone that's in need of assistance that may be homeless? Well, I'm going to just kind of shout it out right now. The first thing you want to consider is referring to our local shelter, Samaritan House. In no particular order, though, you want to refer to one of our access points. There are 3 access points. The Ashtabula County Community Action Agency, whom are in the house, Catholic Charities of Ashtabula County, and Samaritan House. But when in doubt, please say call 211. Because depending on what their need is, it might not be for a shelter. So, they're going to help navigate a person's need over the phone. So keep that in mind. We have this wonderful resource in our county, 211, so easy, 211, okay? So if you have one takeaway, it's that. If you're saying, how can I help someone? Please consider this information right here. So I mentioned about an access point. So when someone comes to one of our agencies, and I mentioned Catholic Charities, Community Action, Samaritan House, we're going to do a process that's going to help understand where the person's at, not telling them where to go and use resources that they don't need. So the first thing we're going to do is a diversion, and that we're going to ask them where are their family and friend supports. Can they go live with someone else? Actually investigate their situation, maybe provide a different option than going to a shelter, because it might not be necessary. And that's happened before. We've actually had some people not from our community, and we ended up taking them back to their home because their family was missing them. They didn't know where they were. It happens. So having that discussion, where are you from? What's going on? How did you get to where you're at right now? And sometimes they might be saying, well, my mom kicked me out of the house and I don't know where to go, so I'm homeless. And then we start having the discussion. And the discussion might be more like, well, tell me more about it. Well, I have an aunt and I love her and she's great. Well, do you want to call your aunt right now and have a discussion? And we'll let the story go from there. And then there's someone who has no family or friends supports. They've burnt their bridges. They are in a position where they really don't have any place to go tonight. That's where we go to the coordinated entry process. And that's our opportunity to help people enter the homeless assistance programs that are in our county. And there's countless different ways of helping people. It depends on what their need is. But this process helps us enter them into a helping process that's going to hopefully lead them towards self-sufficiency. We have weekly prioritization meetings where the council members meet to discuss those individuals that have entered the coordinated entry process, and we review all that have been entered into our homeless information system, HMIS it's called, and we make sure we have discussions and try to find strategies or resources that are going to help strengthen their situation, especially with those that have been unhoused for a long time in our community. Part of that is making sure referrals, prioritizing those referrals are going to shelters or other types of housing programs in our community. Our shelters, question is do we have a shelter in Ashtabula County? Yes, we do. We have the Samaritan House, which is in Ashtabula City. It is a family shelter. We also have Home Safe, which is our domestic violence shelter. And we also have Beatitude House, House of Blessing, and it's a transitional housing program. I'm going to start moving a little fast here. Some of the housing programs that assist those that are unhoused, we have our mental health board, Mental Health and Recovery Services Board that works with a lot of mental health or emergency assistance and recovery housing. Our Shelter Plus Care voucher program, which provides subsidies in housing. There's the Homeless Crisis Response Program. There's TANF, which is a program that helps with families in need. It's a state program as well. There's HUD vouchers. There's vouchers for veterans. There's youth opportunities. It's hitting all of the population, the demographic of Ashtabula County. Those in need, I would say generally from 18 to so on. Unaccompanied youth is known as 18 to 24, so that's where youth opportunities kind of plays in. Our annual point in time has changed since COVID, but generally the point in time count is designed to help us record who would be homeless on the night of the 4th Tuesday of January. This happens every year. It is a mandated, unfunded mandate, by the way, by HUD, but it asks us to work with people as we meet with them during this time frame in January and ask them the question, were you homeless on the night of January 24th? Those people that are interviewed is that they are then recorded in an app. Now we have an app, it's not a piece of paper, but it used to be like an interviewing form. But that information is then recorded and then reported to us. The reason why this process happens is not just to do outreach and to make that connection of services in our community, but it's really to give a snapshot of what's going on in Ashtabula County with those that are sheltered and unsheltered through our housing programs. And the question is, were you homeless on the night of January 24th? That's what the question was this year. We are pending our results, and this is a bigger conversation, but all of these numbers that you see here fluctuate for many different reasons. The point in time count has changed in technology and accuracy, but just to kind of report on last year, we had 63 people in our system of Ashtabula County that were part of the homeless system. of Ashtabula County. And what I mean by that is those that receiving housing services, like at a shelter, or being paid for by another agency, like sometimes our agency is putting up a person in a motel. And then we have those that are unsheltered in the streets. And last year we reported 19 that were unsheltered in our streets in Ashtabula County. So, we're concluding. There's so much to do in Ashtabula County, but we have so many amazing people in our community to make things happen. So there's a lot to think about here. This is usually a 2-hour presentation, so I really condensed this. So maybe stay tuned for the 2-hour version someday. But I do want to tell you that, you know, we're always thinking that, you know, what do we want to do? We need to still continue to assess the gaps in our community. We always want to advocate. There's opportunities to advocate on state and federal level. You know, collaborating with our local officials and community leaders are key to making change too. We're all part of it. We all have skin in the game here. So it's not just a one-person kind of thing. There's a lot of talk about having a warming center in Ashtabula County, like something permanent, you know, or something, you know, where we know it's going to happen and make it safe for people in our community that are in a situation where they're cold. A walk-in center, you know, what does that look like in Ashtabula County? Could that happen? Expand on homeless beds, increase funding of our homeless housing programs, focus on special populations that we find that are maybe frequently homeless or chronically homeless. You know, we always continue to serve those in need. That is one thing I'm going to say, it's always happening, all the time in our community. There are so many organizations working with people in need. We do need to do a better job reducing stigma. Because if we want to help someone rise out of their situation, we don't want them to feel the shame of getting help. Because it's not help, it's us. They're giving us permission to help them through their journey, and it is a privilege. We want to also listen to those that are unhoused. Hopefully we can have a focus group and talk more to people that have been in the situation or are currently in the situation, and listen and hear. Maybe they're not doing something right. And then also continue to respect those in their situation, in their journey towards self-sufficiency. Ultimately, it just takes a village to do all of this. It takes a village. I mean, I don't even know if I have everybody. I don't have everybody, but you know, these when I think about all the different people we work with on a regular basis, it's amazing. It's not one, it's not 2 or 3. It's the whole community. It's amazing. You should be really proud. Ashtabula is awesome, by the way. Ultimately, we need to provide hope to all in need. And I'm going to always say that at the end of all my spiels. Hope is what helps. And just want to thank you for your time. I think I made it. I think it's exactly 9 o'clock. Oh my. I will welcome any of your questions and encourage any maybe comments in the community. I kind of made it light and fluffy today, but we all know this is a tough topic. But I also want to thank you for being here and really being interested in the discussion, the thoughts, the process, bringing it together, marinating it, because there's a lot that goes along with this. But obviously you all care about this topic, and really happy and feel very privileged to be in front of all of you today and give you this opportunity to learn and come together. So with that, any questions, comments for the room? Yes. Hi, Kathy. There's a lot of programs that help those that might not, I'm not going to say where they're not incompetent, but they might not have the ability to navigate services on their own. And that's where, you know, the hopes are is that the referral to 211 or to one of our agencies where we can help guide them to programs and also kind of develop that trust. We have that happen all the time. We have people walk through our doors there coming from the hospital, from nursing homes, and we sit down and we kind of find out what's going on. And a lot of times we're finding they needed their Social Security reinstated. And right there, but they didn't know how to do it. They need someone to do that for them. You know, it's just like the little things. If someone has a food card, this happened yesterday. They wanted their food card. They had it mailed to our agency. Food card came in, and the person who is homeless and continues because of his own accord, wants to be, said, well, I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to find a place to make a phone call. I go, do you want to make it here? All he wanted was his food card just turned on. I mean, he knows to come to our agency. The question is, you know, what's next? You know, hey, are you going to come over? We're going to look at some rental situations here for you, you know, work on that. And it's going to happen, but this person needed their food card turned on. They needed to put the pin in, and then they were moving forward. So the hopes are is that we can eventually navigate. In this particular case, we were able to get their Social Security. So now the next step is hopefully housing for that person. And maybe other services that can help support the roof over his head. JP, Commissioner.
That I believe it's in Oregon. They were going to begin a program of providing $1,000 a month to people that were homeless. And I don't see that we have the resources in Ashtabula County to do anything like that. But is that in your experience, is that a solution that's one, sustainable, two, the most effective use of resources, to put those resources in someone's hand independently than utilize them as they person-centered, see how it's most appropriate to help them instead of us telling them how they need to use it? Or is it a better solution to allocate those dollars and make sure that those basic needs are met, and then find additional resources for the other things?
That's like saying, if I gave you $1,000 a month, is it $1,000 a month? I would think that it would help many, but it might not help those that we think it would help. It all depends. $1,000 is probably what it takes to live in a home unsubsidized. So if we had to look at it as a place to keeping a roof over someone's head, it could be effective. But the question would be the criteria and making sure that someone is able to stay with the plan and that there's a plan in place. That's where the Homeless Crisis Response Program is, and that's what we're currently doing between Community Action and Catholic Charities. We have a long-term, it could be short-term, long-term assistance with rental assistance. So we could help someone up to 12 months and provide their housing, provide help with their utilities, provide help with other wraparound assistance to work towards self-sufficiency. So I would say it's almost happening in Ashtabula County. It's just a different name. It depends on the person and their ability to stay with the plan, and also an agency or a caseworker that's going to be willing to work with all of the things that go on in that person's life. So I'm happy to hear that there's a program that's looking at stability long term. I would think that the outcome would be that they wouldn't be homeless anymore and that there would be self-sustainability. So there is some merit to that program. Mr. Commissioner?
I have a second question.
Yes.
Of the folks that you deal with that are in a homeless situation, what percentage would you say are in that situation due to addiction? And I say it's probably addiction, mental health. I mean, is that just the vast majority, or is there truly a significant component of people that are they just lost their job, they just had maybe had to declare bankruptcy, or maybe there's some other strictly situational or monetary situations?
I think it's very fair to say that co-occurring disorders or those that are really kind of suffering with substance use and mental health is very common in Ashtabula County. although there are supports, I would say it's really those that don't have family and friend support is who we see. So you could have those that don't have the support through their recovery often. That's why we have recovery housing programs. We also see the mental health aspect, but that doesn't mean that they're going to provide or go to services right away. But I would say that's fairly common. Hopefully if I get information on those that were counted during the point in time count, it can show the different data points on the services or the needs that they have, and it would show maybe like the percentage of those people that we worked with on the point in time count were what services or what category they may fit in as far as a demographic. But I would say it's fairly common, yes. Mr. Timonier.
So to get back to the program that Mr. Bucro talked about, I share this stat because I think it is such an important stat to let the work that all of the agencies and national economic are doing. I believe it was 2021, the end of the year report from the Samaritan House. 101 people went through the Samaritan House, and only 8 returned to their previous state in life before they entered the Samaritan House. Okay? So those are the people that went through the program, stuck with it, were able to get housing at the end of it, were able to get some type of income. Everybody that came through the Samaritan House, all 101, left with health insurance. I mean, just that is a huge step. So talking about adding new programs here, I personally, we have enough programs here, in my opinion. We have wonderful people like Jill and like the people at 211 and all of our agencies that work together here. I think what the key and one of the things that we're working on as a city, bringing everybody together, we have so many agencies and so many religious sector, everybody kind of doing their own thing. And when I brought everybody into one room, somebody was complaining they didn't have this, and somebody over there said we've been doing that for 15 years. And so actually having people talk and not like I own the homeless person over here and you own the homeless person over there, I mean, it's ridiculous sometimes. But we are looking at that day center and the warming center concept so that all the agencies can participate, work together, and provide those services to start to gain trust, because I'm sure Jill and all the other people that are involved in dealing with the homeless situation, gaining the trust for somebody to actually come in and talk and then start to work that system and stay with the program is 90% of the battle. So I commend you guys all for everything you do, but the programs that we have in this county are unbelievable. We also just got $460,000 dedicated to the Samaritan House to do an expansion there. So we're doing our things to try to address this. The resources are here. It's having the community support to point them to those resources and help people out and then remove that stigma of what homeless is.
And I just wanted to bring back one thing that Mr. Timonier said. Samaritan House helped bridge the 101 people to services. So it may be through a particular program at Community Action or at Catholic Charities, or maybe at another agency through Department of Job and Family Services, connecting them to services. And that's where the coordinated entry comes into play, and that's happening now. It didn't just start. It happens. It's one day at a time, but it is happening. And the programs, as Mr. Timonier was mentioning, are valid and true. We have to work hard for compliance. We have to have people that have the skills to be able to meet with individuals in need and to be able to make those connections to landlords, make connections to services through the mental health agencies, through just family sometimes. So, this is always happening. So I just wanted to bring that point up. Yes?
The agencies keep in touch with 211 on a regular basis so they can see what availability is, say from day to day or from week to week. Do they keep in touch with?
So I'm not going to speak for 211, but I can speak of my experience. They contact us probably twice a year to make sure that we have certain information in their database. So then when those calls come in, They know what Catholic Charities is providing or what Samaritan House is providing, so it's on a regular basis. In the sense of our meetings, they have, their dispatchers are constantly updating, I know that firsthand, and I have to say we have a very good 211 system. So, and by the way, everything changes. It changes all the time, and I think we do an amazing job. I think 211 does an amazing job trying to make sure all the most up-to-date information is in place. Plus, they have the 411 on the 211, which is, I'll do another plug, which is an email that says what's going on a weekly basis. So if you're looking for a parenting class, like we'll put our thing in there, you know, or there's other things, other programs on weatherization. It's constant, and it's free. It's free, free. Please. Please.
So Alyssa with Community Action, I actually oversee our 211 program, and Alyssa with Community Action, I oversee our 211 program and a homeless crisis response program that's part of the coordinated entry program. One of the things I will always say is we are very lucky to have 211 locally here because of that reason. We are at the table. We are literally in the same building as one of the coordinated entry in the same department of the same agency. So sometimes it's as easy as, hey, Christine, what's going on? Is there room in the Samaritan House today? So there are other 211s that are, you know, thanks to the pandemic, 211 showed through that you can answer phones from anywhere and have a database from anywhere. But if a lot of other communities have 211s that could be run by counties over in another place in Ohio. We're really lucky to be able to keep that program here. So that's just why I just wanted to say we're really, really lucky because it's literally within even the same building that we can kind of connect with that. So thanks. I just wanted.
We planned this. Anything else? Any other thoughts, comments, feelings? One last question for the group. Yes.
So the national count of almost 600,000, the local count, how accurate do you feel that those are? Are you missing?
We'll always miss. Again, this is a point in time through a time frame, believe it or not, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. The concept of the point in time count is to provide a snapshot and to identify that there are those that are unhoused. It's never going to capture the real picture. And like I mentioned earlier, people could be homeless and then at risk of homelessness in one day. I mean, it's just, you're staying at Uncle Johnny's house and he says, get out. And then all of a sudden you're, you know, hanging out at a gas station, 24-hour gas station, trying to figure out where your next move is. So, but to your question, that is a common question of we'll never capture everyone. So, okay, I'm going to hand over the mic. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming this morning and your questions, and go team.
Thank you, Jill, for a wonderful presentation on a tough topic, but I hope everyone here today learned a little bit more, and we'll go out and we'll face today, Wednesday, with a little bit more kindness. We are having our April Profiles Breakfast Series on Wednesday, April 5th. So mark your calendars. We'll be hearing from Shelley Marshall, and she'll be talking about cybersecurity. So it's something that affects us all, affects us personally, and as organizations. So please put it on your calendar for Wednesday, April 5th, and then we only have one more after that. So we're nearing the end of this Profiles Breakfast Series for this year. Oh, okay, Jill.
There's a handout. It's our Access Point handout if you'd like to take that along with you. I didn't fold them, but it's the most up-to-date handout. We'll probably have more things with QR codes on it in the future, but it's there for you to take. There's about 50 out there, so it's on the back table.
Hey, have a great day, everyone.